Ah, it's that time of year again. You know the one, the annual ritual where we trade an hour of precious sleep for an extra hour of glorious sunlight. We are, of course, talking about daylight saving time. And we're about to figure out if that trade-off is really worth it. And hey, this isn't some far-off event. As of today, we have just 61 days until Sunday, March 8th, 2026. That's when millions of us will spring forward. The countdown is officially on.
And this really gets to the heart of the whole thing, doesn't it? 1 hour of sleep just gone, in exchange for longer, brighter evenings. Is that a good deal? Well, let's find out.
Okay, let's kick things off by making sure we're all on the same page. What exactly happens when we spring forward?
So here's the big idea in a nutshell. Daylight saving time is really just us collectively deciding to shift our clocks forward. The whole point is to take an hour of daylight from the super early morning, when most of us are asleep anyway, and move it to the evening, when we can actually enjoy it.
Now, this is where it gets a little wild. The change happens at a very specific moment. At 2 a.m. local time, the clock doesn't just tick over to 2:01. Nope, it leaps straight to 3 a.m. An entire hour of the night just vanishes. They picked that time hoping it would cause the least amount of chaos.
But, not everyone is in on this time jump. Hawaii and most of Arizona, for instance, they just opt out. And it makes sense. They're closer to the equator, so their daylight hours are pretty consistent all year round. Same goes for these U.S. territories. They just don't see the need to mess with their clocks.
So how did this whole thing even start? Well, let's dive into the history, because the story of daylight saving time is this amazing mix of wartime strategy, a desire to save fuel, and honestly, an attempt to stop total chaos.
All right, first things first, we've got to bust a huge myth. A lot of people think Benjamin Franklin came up with this idea. And yeah, he wrote a funny essay about Parisians saving candles, but he did not invent modern daylight saving time. The real story is way more recent.
This timeline really lays it all out. The U.S. first jumped on board in 1918 during World War I, all to save fuel for the war. Then it came back as year-round wartime for World War II. But after the war, it was a mess. Different towns and states did their own thing. So in 1966, the government stepped in with the Uniform Time Act to get everyone on the same page. And more recently, in 2007, it was extended to the dates we use now, again, to try and save energy.
So, if it's so complicated, why do we keep doing it? Well, that brings us right to the big debate, the pros versus the cons, and how this whole thing messes with our daily lives.
And here's how it shakes out. On the good side, more evening light is awesome for getting outdoors, and it's a real boost for businesses like restaurants and stores. Plus, who doesn't love those beautiful golden hour evenings after a long winter? But the bad side is pretty serious. That sudden clock change throws our internal body clocks, our circadian rhythms, completely out of whack. And that single lost hour of sleep leads to a very real, documented spike in traffic accidents and even heart attacks right after the change. The sleepiness is so widespread that first Monday back is sometimes called National Napping Day, for real.
With a list of pros and cons like that, it's no surprise that there's a huge movement to just stop changing the clocks. So, what could the future of time actually look like?
Basically, there are two main ideas on the table. The first option is to make daylight saving time permanent. That means we'd get those extra bright evenings all year long. The second option, which a lot of sleep scientists are big fans of, is to stay on standard time forever. That would give us more sunlight in the morning during the winter, which is more in sync with our natural body clocks.
The push for permanent daylight saving time even has a name in Congress. It's called the Sunshine Protection Act. It's popped up a few times, but it just hasn't made it into law yet. So for now, the rule is still spring forward and fall back.
All right, since the change is definitely happening, let's switch gears and talk about some practical stuff. Think of this as your personal survival guide for handling that lost hour like a champ.
Okay, to make this whole thing easier, try these 4 simple steps. 1. Ease into it. For a few nights before the change, just try to go to bed 15 or 20 minutes earlier. 2. On that Sunday morning, get outside. Sunlight is the best signal to tell your body, hey, it's time to reset. 3. Maybe skip that late afternoon coffee. And 4, the classic one we all forget, don't forget to change the clocks in your car and on the microwave.
And speaking of reminders, here is a fantastic habit that fire departments absolutely love. Use the time change as your twice-a-year reminder to check the batteries in your smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. Seriously, it's such a simple thing to do, and it can literally be a lifesaver.
Okay, with all that in mind, let's bring it all back to the big day itself and how you can keep track of exactly when it's all going down.
Yep, just 61 days left, and if you want to get super precise about that countdown, there's an awesome tool you can use.
For a real-time count, right down to the second, you can head over to the source for this explainer, holidaycountdown.net.
And it's not just for daylight saving time. The site lets you explore more than 170 other holidays and events in the US, and you can even track important dates from all around the world. It's a great way to make sure you never miss a big day.
And so that leaves us with one final big question. Now that you've heard the history, the science, and the arguments, what do you think? Is this whole twice-a-year shuffle worth the hassle? Or is it finally time to just pick a time and stick with it for good? It's a debate that is definitely not over yet.